Specifically in that game, from what you can remember, what do you think went wrong for the Raiders there that might be preventable in this next game?
I am fascinated to see if the Raiders continue to play cover three. They play cover three more than any other team in the NFL. It's Gus Bradley. That's what Gus Bradley does. He plays cover three. And there's been so much talk about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs against two high safeties. But the Raiders don't have a second good safety for coverage. Jonathan Abram is their strong safety, but he can't cover anybody. And the Chiefs is where he's been exposed more than ever. I mean, it was something ridiculous. Like he was targeted 9 times and gave up 100 and something yards in the first meeting with Kansas City. So ideally, if you're playing the Chiefs, you want to have two high safeties all the time, but the Raiders don't have the second safety to do that. So I'm fascinated to see what Gus Bradley does because it fits his personnel much better to play cover three, but you also just saw Patrick Mahomes pick apart that coverage. So if you're Gus Bradley, I don't think there's a right answer because I don't think putting Jonathan Abram in coverage works. I don't think that's going to go well for the Raiders, but I'm also not convinced playing cover three is going to work as well. I think defensively, it probably comes down to can Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue make the secondaries more irrelevant, right? Can they get to Mahomes enough? But as we've seen, getting to Mahomes doesn't always lead to good things for the defense. He can break you down anyways.
Yeah, the Chiefs, as it turns out, they have two solid safeties in Matthew and Thornhill, and then sometimes the cornerbacks need that additional help, but they've been really helped by the advanced play of Melvin Ingram and Frank Clark and Chris Jones. And as it goes, it does make every level of the defense a little bit easier. I have kind of an obvious question for you, but I'm just wondering if you have any additional insight. How much of an impact is maybe Darren Waller being out of the lineup hindering, I should say, the Las Vegas Raiders right now and then into this game if he can't play?
Yeah, it hurts, and he hasn't practiced yet this week either. So I would assume he's not playing unless we get to Friday, Saturday, and he's back at practice. But it hurts, but Waller hasn't been as good this year as he has been in the past. He's certainly had some significant drop issues. He's never really been like a great run blocking tight end. He's definitely more of that's a receiving tight end. So, but it hurts more because the Raiders don't have other great receiving options. Like Hunter Renfrow is a good slot receiver, but outside of that, like even if Henry Ruggs was still here, it's not like Henry Ruggs was a dominant deep ball receiver. Brian Edwards hasn't done anything. Zay Jones barely gets any target. Deshaun Jackson only played like half the snaps last week. So they just don't have other good options. I mean, hell, Darren Waller's backup, Foster Moreau's a solid receiving tight end if they throw it to him. So it's probably not as bad as it thinks just because of the name power Darren Waller brings. But when you're Derek Carr and you're looking for literally anybody to throw the ball to that's not named Hunter Renfrow, it obviously has that effect on the offense.
Through this conversation, I'm kind of sensing that you think the Raiders probably are going to lose this football game, but turning that over, what has to happen? How does the game script go if the Raiders are to win this game at Arrowhead Stadium?
Yeah, Derek Carr and the offense have to throw the ball down the field. It's been weird where we've had very clear evidence that when Carr is aggressive, throws the ball, isn't worried about throwing into tight coverages, gives his receivers a chance, that the offense is good. But he only does that when they're losing. And that's why a lot of their wins have been comeback wins when they go down 2 scores and then all of a sudden here comes the offense. It's because they're like, oh, we can throw it down the field because we're losing by 2 touchdowns already. But in most of their losses, I mean, they throw it. I mean, hell, they played Cincinnati 2 weeks ago. They get the ball inside the 10 after a fumble. They throw it twice behind the line of scrimmage and they end up kicking a field goal. So offensively, they've got to have Carr throwing the ball down the field because the offense it's been a very good offense when they throw the ball down the field, and Carr's got to be he's afraid of throwing interceptions is what it is. Like he's a very risk averse quarterback, and more often than not, that can be a good thing. Like you don't want to throw interceptions, but it also limits the actual yardage you can pick up. So he's got to be aggressive. And then defensively, it comes down to, can Jonathan Abram cover anybody, or can they make enough tweaks in the cover three that Mahomes doesn't pick it apart? Because that's probably the biggest fear is that even, bad Patrick Mahomes this year still torched the Raiders. Like, even when he's having maybe his worst season, he still went off against the Raiders. So I'm not too optimistic, but there is a path. There is certainly a path there. The Raiders are good enough that they can win an Arrowhead.